Well, I know that you guys are sick of hearing it by now, but it really is great to be back. It's good to see all of your faces. It's been too long. It's 2 years since we've been in a convention together, and have had the opportunity to talk to you about DAV's outreach, our communications mission, and in that time, it was wild. People have been asking me, well, what was 2020 like for you, for your team? And it's kind of like describing the individual rocks as you're going through whitewater. It's hard to look back and say exactly what happened. We just know that it was fast, exciting, and sometimes scary. But while we were separated, our team has worked as hard, if not harder than ever. Your communications department at the national level, 14 professionals. We run website, magazine, social media, media relations, branding, videos, podcasting, digital outreach, and a lot more, speeches. And these men and women have, for each of you, for all of you, have worked tremendously, have worked out, put in hours that we never would have expected, and have faced challenges that are really kind of difficult to describe. But you would be proud of how hard they worked during the pandemic. A lot of times it was, for those of you who watched the virtual salute, for instance, it was preparing for an in-person convention in case we had it, while also preparing for this virtual salute. Same thing with things like the Winter Sports Clinic and the Golf Clinic, that sort of thing. So it was prepare for 2 events, execute 1, and these men and women really came through for us. So, as always, the driver, yeah, please go ahead and clap for him. We're truly blessed. Part of or a big part of what makes us so successful in terms of outreach is not only their hard work, but having veterans to tell the story. That is it, right? If we didn't have each of you, didn't have your stories to tell, we would have nothing. These folks they're great, but they're not fiction writers, right? And the only thing that comes close to working as hard as they do is our PSA campaign, our public service campaign. Throughout the pandemic and the lockdown, our PSA outreach campaign continued to be an exciting and effective driver of DAV outreach. As you probably know, the Victories for Veterans themed PSAs tell the story of victories of wounded, ill, and injured veterans in order to put a face on the vast number of services that we provide. Some of our highlights in 2020, and this is truly outstanding. I'll go back here. Got 20. I accidentally gave you 2021 first. Spoiler alert, you guys. I'll go back to that slide in a second. 2020, 9.7 billion impressions, $107 million in donated media value. We had a free COVID-19 PSA. Someone donated the production and creation of a COVID-19 PSA because we knew back in April that we were in for a fight when it comes to protecting disabled veterans, for assisting them in this difficult time. We were able to drive traffic to our COVID-19 unemployment relief fund, which raised dispersed more than $2 million to disabled veterans across the country who had lost jobs or had their small business destroyed or diminished. And then for those of you who were here with us in 2019, and even those who weren't, you will know that we had Dale Dye receive the Bugle Award. Dale Dye is a DAV member, United States Marine Corps veteran of Vietnam, and he's a military advisor to Hollywood, essentially. He helps them go from, I would say he's the reason why we went from Rambo to Platoon, right? It looked one way, and then Dale Dye came on, and it looks another way. And he's the narrator. He did a fantastic job. While he was at convention in 2019, we snuck him off to a recording studio, and he recorded our PSAs for us and did a great job. But really, again, I want to go back to what makes these PSAs so effective. It's all of you. The veterans achieving victories, great and small. So that was 2020. So far in 2021, almost 1.9 billion impressions so far, well over 41 million in earned media value, and that's television, it's radio, that's print, that's out-of-home billboards and other kinds of digital displays as well. The COVID PSA has been redistributed. This is just through June. We put out a high-impact mailer, and what that is just a piece of creative that we mail out to the studio, to stations and papers and periodicals across the country, letting them know, telling these individual stories, asking them to support us, asking them to run these PSAs for us, and we continue to go on this out-of-home pitch placement. And we're planning new creative, and I'll get to that here in a little bit in this year. What's that? Thanks. And speaking of which, R21, I'm going to play you those of you who haven't seen these PSAs. These are the ones that we created late 2019, released in 2020, and they feature veterans. And one of them, my deputy just let me know, just walked in. Adam Greathouse, are you back there? There he is. There's Adam Greathouse, everybody. Adam not only appears in the PSA for us, he's our 2020 Outstanding Disabled Veteran of the Year, so we've been asking a lot of him, in addition to everything that he's been giving as a volunteer and as an employee with the VA down in West Virginia. He's an Army veteran wounded by toxic exposure in Kosovo. He's a Freedom Award winner at our Winter Sports Clinic, so I just want to play Adam's piece here, if I can, for his PSA.
While I was lying in an Army hospital in Trinity, my parents got a letter that said I had 48 hours to live. They even sent this flag to put on my coffin.
As America's Veterans Face Challenges, DAV is there.
I left the military with a traumatic brain injury, and when I got home, I fought depression, anxiety, and alcohol, and had nothing to look forward to.
DAV provides a lifetime of support to veterans of every generation, helping more than 1 million veterans each year.
With DAV's help, my world changed 100%. I was able to build a new life for myself.
With the right support, more veterans can reach victories great and small.
I'm at a great house, Army veteran.
But there are more victories to be won.
My victory is just experiencing life.
Adam Greathouse, thank you for your service. May your victories inspire many more. Support more victories for veterans. Go to DAV.org.
It doesn't normally do that at the end, I promise. It has some connectivity issues, but and I don't know. You guys, Adam is in here. He's in the room. If you guys want to talk to him about where he surfs in West Virginia, I'm sure he'll be able to to talk to you about that. This next one features Greg Gatson, Army Colonel, West Point graduate. He served in Desert Shield and Desert Storm, and he was wounded by a roadside bomb in Iraq in 2007, bilateral above-the-knee amputee, and he also has a career as an actor and a motivational speaker.
Yeah, military life can have its challenges, but sometimes veteran life brings more.
As America's Veterans Face Challenges, DAV is there.
My name is Greg Gatson, 26-year Army veteran.
With the right support, more veterans can reach victories great and small.
DAV helps veterans like me get all the benefits they've earned, and that can be a life changer.
DAV provides a lifetime of support to veterans of every generation, helping more than 1 million veterans each year.
Today, I'm an entrepreneur, photographer, and public speaker,
With the right support, there are no limits.
and I never tire of standing tall.
But there's more to be done and more victories to be won.
My victory is just being the best that I can be.
Greg Gatson, thank you for your service. The great victories inspire many more.
I love hearing that applause. These men and women deserve it, and they're fantastic pieces of creative. We're very proud of them, and I'm glad that you are as well. Here's Alex Hussey. He's combat wounded by an IED in in Afghanistan. And this features his wife Kim as well. They're at the Winter Sports Clinic when we film this. And it shows that family members and caregivers are there for disabled veterans every step of the way.
This is my husband, Alex Hussey. Alex is about 2 weeks away from coming home.
I was playing man foot patrol and stuff with my mom. Lots of lakes
That's what this is all about.
DAV provides a lifetime support to veterans of every generation, helping more than 1 million veterans each year.
Alex has conquered this mountain. That's something he won't forget.
With the right support, there are no limits.
Look at that smile! You did it!
But there's more to be done, and more victories to be won.
This has meant so much.
Alex Hussey, thank you for your service. Support more victories for veterans.
I'm gonna play one more for you. The last piece of creative that we made in 2019, released in 2020. But looking back, you'll see that we have Adam Greathouse, started as a volunteer, and was assisted by DAV in various ways in West Virginia. We have Greg Gadsden, who's an entrepreneur, motivational speaker, who's going to be doing a lot more with us in the future. And Alex Hussey and his wife Kim, who were his quality of life has been greatly increased by his participation at the Winter Sports Clinic. These are focusing on, they're telling their stories, they're exciting, they look good, of course, they sound good, but they're telling stories of DAV's core services without hitting you over the head with it, right? I mean, it's telling you in a way that really makes you pay attention, right? Because we're not coming in the front door, maybe we're coming in the side door a little bit with this great creative. And lastly, in that same theme, we have Naomi Mathis, fantastic. She was a TSO, now is an NSO down here in Florida. She's a mother, she's a leader. She brings her combat experiences that brought her to the brink, and she brings that experience to her role as a DAV NSO.
When I was in Iraq, our convoy was hit. It was bad. After I came home, I could still hear booms and see tracer fire. Makes it hard to be a good mom.
As America's veterans face challenges, DAV is there.
I'm Naomi Mathis, Air Force veteran.
With the right support, more veterans can reach victories great and small.
With help from DAV, I was able to begin to heal.
DAV provides a lifetime of support to veterans of every generation, helping more than 1 million veterans each year.
Today I'm part of DAV, where veterans helping veterans to get the benefits they earn. And I give my veterans my all.
But there's more to be done, and more victories to be won.
My victory is being able to be here for my children.
Naomi Mathis, thank you for your service. May your victories inspire many more. To support more victories for veterans, go to DAV.org.
So I showed all television PSAs, showed the longer 1-minute versions, and the reason why, I mean, obviously television is king. So far in 2021 alone, see that's almost 1.8 billion impressions, and we're over 40 million now in donated media value. These are airing nationally, places like CBS, ABC, cable networks like the Food Network, HGTV. And we also have just secured placement on Hulu, and that started in June, and it's going to be running through the end of this month, so we're very excited about that. Radio has done pretty well for us as well. You can see that the picture there on the right is Dale Dye, and that is the letter that goes out when we mail these pieces out to these stations, radio stations, television stations, magazines, and newspapers, and the folks who own out-of-home, who own billboards. There you go, you have 178 clips, and you see the impressions and donated media value there. We had 164 placements in the Wall Street Journal alone so far this year. Those are full, yeah, please. Those are full half and quarter pages, and we're incredibly proud of that. Someone at Wall Street Journal loves us. I don't know who it is, but I'm glad they do. And you can see there's a couple samples there. And then we had digital PSA placements. They run on AARP.org. EW Scripps has come along and has asked, and we're taking a meeting later this week as soon as we get back from convention with Sinclair. They're also very interested in what we're doing, so we're excited about that. And this is a kind of a unique one. A producer saw our Naomi Mathis PSA someplace in Los Angeles, and thought that they were so well done, that they looked so good. They asked if they could put them in a film that she was working on. It's a sequel to 2020's Stargirl. It stars Grace VanderWaal. I don't know how many of you know about Stargirl. It's on Disney Plus. My 14-year-old daughter thinks I'm cool for the first time ever because she found out that we were working with them. It's got Uma Thurman and Judd Hirsch in it, and it's going to be released later this year. And it's actually going to be featured at 2 different points. The name of the film is called Hollywood Stargirl. So mark your calendars, grab your kids, grab your grandkids, and look for DAV's placement there. We'll also, as I had mentioned earlier, be working autumn of this year. We've already started the process. We have some candidates who will be working on shooting new PSA creative that will be released in 2022, next year. Again, same Victories for Veterans. We have the candidates pretty much compiled right now, and we feel that we've got a really good, what you just saw in terms of, with Naomi, with Greg, with Adam, with Alex, we have candidates we feel that are that good. Well, not as good as you, Adam, but as good as the other ones. So we've been pitching hard. We've been working to reach out to the networks, large networks. Unfortunately, right as we were going into our national network pitch, which is really important, we go to where they are. We travel to New York. We take meetings in their boardrooms with them. We bring a disabled veteran with us, one of the folks featured in our PSA Creative, and we show them what they are doing, the impact that they can make by helping, by running our PSAs, right? That it's not just, we're not just a name, that we have faces, we have people that they are actually able to help. But unfortunately, the pandemic nixed that, but we were able to we pivoted pretty quickly. I think it was Greg Gadsden and I started doing Zoom calls in, it was probably April, maybe March of 2020. And as a matter of fact, our first calls were on something, I wrote this down here, it's called Blue Jeans, which is one of those, it's like a Zoom or a Windows that didn't make it. It crashed. So that's how early we were doing it. We were doing it so before it went. So we have a PSA Toolkit. And we've been working on this, and we're going to continue to refine this. It's in the members-only section. And it has information about the PSA campaign and how to access materials, best practices for conducting station outreach and follow-up, and campaign messaging and sample pitches. And this is, some of the information there. You can take a look at it. It's in the members-only section of the website. If you want to know how you can really get involved with this, if you think this is exciting, if you believe in this the way that we believe in this, this is the best way, is to access this information, to take these materials, to reach out to your local magazines, your local television stations, your local radio stations. Take the time, you practice, go and pitch them, right? We need this more than anything I can think of that we could ask for from you, other than just being who you are and supporting us. This is incredibly important. In 2020, a lot of advertisers reined in all their spending budget, right? Well, what's everyone trying to do in 2021 is they're throwing that money back out there, trying to make up for everything they lost, like the rest of us, trying to make up for everything they lost. And so it's incredibly important that we get out there and that we work hard. We had several, and I think if any of you are here, I thank you for submitting those pictures to us. You have sent us pictures of yourself meeting with local radio and television executives. I can make this promise to you. I know that all of you are competitive. I know that you like to get your pictures in the magazine if your chapters and departments are doing things. And I really love how competitive you are with that. But I can make this promise to you. If you take a photo of you and the publisher of a publisher of your local newspaper or magazine, the station manager or billboard owner, I will absolutely run that on social media, on our national platforms. That will get my attention, it will get our attention, because we think it's incredibly important. The toolkit gives you all sorts of information about the best things, the best practices for that. But what I can say is I would just ask that you practice, just like I practiced this. I don't know if I look like I did, but I practiced this because it's, I know all this material, but once you kind of get in front of somebody, sometimes we kind of fumble a little bit. So take the time, learn the material, practice it, and I think that you will do well. And that could, again, more than anything that I could ask of you today, that would be it. Our PSAs, they drive interest. Some of these stations that run and these newspapers that run our PSAs also become interested in our stories, right? So if you are able to get placement for our PSA in your local newspaper, for instance, you will also find a soft target for telling your stories. And those of you who in this room had the opportunity to attend Todd and Mary's yesterday, okay, I've got some of you there, great. They talked to you about media, about outreach, about public relations, and they know more about that than I ever could tell you. But I do know that our PSAs soften the target for you, right? So it's a 1-2 punch that you guys can employ for outreach. And John Plhovensack, and I'll be doing push-ups if I pronounced your name wrong. I come from Ohio. He was talking yesterday. He's basically a columnist now for the Claremont Sun, which is just across the river from our previous national headquarters. Really, he probably could give this talk, but he's become a master of what's called localize and rewrite. He takes national, international, national stories about veterans issues and he condenses them and puts them into a format. He writes a story that tells it in a way that people in Claremont County, Ohio, are interested. It's useful to them, it's relevant to them, but he's just essentially borrowing material from other sources. And at DAV.org, in our press room, and our other resources that we have, there's abundant information. Anyone could do what John has done, and it's really tremendous. And again, some of the PSAs kind of, again, help soften that target. And I'll tell you that I have it written down here, and I just want to say that the volunteer driver story we have found is an easy sell. If these reporters, if you tell them that by running a story, they are going to be a direct conduit to disabled veterans getting to their medical appointments, I've never heard anyone turn down for it. So I just can't recommend that enough. And this is just another example of this story is written by a gentleman in Cincinnati named Craig McKee. From the national level, we've worked hard to develop a relationship with him, and I say not from the national level, I mean from the national headquarters level, which is really, he's our local guy. He's a veteran himself. He's passionate about DAV and about veteran stories in general. We can always count on him to be interested in our stories, and we just worked really hard to develop this relationship with him. And I think that you will find there are reporters in all of your communities who you can develop into Craig McKee's. They want to be your advocate. They want to, and quite frankly, and I'm saying this as someone who started my career out post-Marine Corps as a journalist, we're kind of lazy. If you guys do some of the work for us, we'll take it. 10 times out of 10, if I had someone writing, and all I had to do was edit their stuff, I would take it. And if someone brought me great story ideas that I didn't have to go out and kind of beat the street for, I would take it, every time. So take advantage of that laziness. This is just another great Craig McKee story. I don't know if you guys seen it. I really wish I could have embedded the video. I tried to do it here. But this is past National Commander, former DAV NSO, Ron Hope, being reunited with the medic who pulled him out of the wreckage when his helicopter crashed in Vietnam. It's an amazing story. That actually happened right in the hallway of our old headquarters in Cold Spring. And if you Google Ron Hope reunion and maybe McKee, you'll definitely find it. It was just such a pleasure to be there. And again, Craig was as excited about telling that story for us as we were to tell the story. And I think that each of you can find ways to develop that. On the national level, this is kind of what we've been up to this past summer. These are some of our highlights. We've been doing banner ads, that means that when you click onto you turn onto a web page, our banner will either roll across the top, populate over on the side, like when you go and you look for a pair of shoes, and then for the next 2 weeks you have shoe ads being populated on the side of the website, that sort of thing. People who are interested or have search for veterans issues, or the algorithms determine that they're interested, they're getting fed that information. U.S. Veterans Magazine, you'll see some of the advertorials that we've had there. We've had digital placements with Military Times, and then some high-impact banner ads. Some of that kind of stuff is kind of nerdy digital stuff, but it's really important that each of you know as much as you can learn about it. I'm 46 years old. I asked my daughter, who's 22, and my other daughter, who's 14, I asked them a lot of questions, right? Because the future is digital. Everything is going that way. It's already gone that way for the most part. DAV for the first time, I think last year or the year before, we've crossed over to where we've gone from desktop traffic on our website to mobile traffic. So those types of trends are really starting to hit our organization, and they're going to continue. It's not going to go back to, physical newspapers and all the rest. The future is digital as far as we can see, and as much as you can learn to take advantage of those strategies, the better off you'll be. We're excited about our partnership that we've been developing with the Disney, ABC, ESPN family. That includes the UFC, the Ultimate Fighting Championship. You'll see some of that down there, and I'm excited. I'll show you a couple of those pieces later. Again, that's a national media partnership. It started this year, running in July through November. But speaking with the UFC, for those of you who remember, last spring we were sportless essentially in the world. They were running old Olympics and old playoff football games on ESPN because there was no new content. Well, there was one show in town, and that was the UFC. And DAV was, we couldn't have predicted that happened, but we were definitely in the right place at the right time. We were able to take advantage of that, and UFC has been a great partner to us. They've provided us with fighters doing shout-outs, and some of this is happening again this year, and we keep evolving that, just making slight tweaks to it. But I think it's exciting to turn on an ESPN broadcast and see DAV's name either on the mat or being as part of an announcement, or to hear a fighter talking about DAV. It brings our message to a younger demographic. This is a veteran-heavy and military-laden audience. We know that because of the UFC has done its research there. And we're getting shout-outs from well-known athletes like Daniel Cormier and Cowboy Cerrone, and those of you who follow the sport will know some of that stuff. And this it looks like a black screen, but I promise I'm going to show you something exciting here. This is the kind of free, exciting, kind of just a freebie that ESPN threw our way. They asked us if they could do something to support us during Veterans Day. I'm going to ask you guys, I'm going to do a little quiz here. Judge Marks, right? I mean, everybody know who Judge Marks is? Judge Robert Marks, right? Okay, good, all right, most of you do at least. He's an endlessly fascinating man. The Playhouse in the Park in Cincinnati is named after him. He was a patron of the arts. He was the football field and the athletic complex at Walnut Hills High School in Cincinnati. Both they're named after him. He was captain of the UC football team, University of Cincinnati football team, and the UC Law Library is named after him. He was such a great litigator. He's an endlessly fascinating man. ESPN found out when UC, University of Cincinnati, had a Veterans Day game this past year, and they reached out to us, and this is what ended up occurring. Again, let's see if I can get this to play. It's got a little bit of a lag. Here we go.
ESPN College Football, presented by RAG, is brought to you by USAA. This Veterans Day, join us in thanking those who serve.
Look at some of the brave men and women from around the world sporting their school colors for ECU. And ESPN would salute America's heroes for their incredible sacrifice and service to our country. On the campus, the University of Cincinnati,
that, right? Yeah. Can't tell if UC was winning there or not. Probably not. So this year we have, before I show you, we have fighter shout-outs, we have fight announcements, and I'll play one for you here. You'll see DAV's logo on the mat on a certain number of fights. And again, this is it's exciting stuff, right? I mean, it's a different tact, it's a different approach, but we're trying to put our name, our brand in front of veterans, in front of military members as well. So as they're transitioning, as they're getting out, they have a favorable impression of the organization. Oh, let me go back there.
UFC. All right, the official decision is sponsored by DAV, Disabled American Veterans, keeping our promise to America's veterans. To make this one official, here's Bruce.
Ladies and gentlemen, referee Chris Tyron is going to stop this contest at 1 minute, 41 seconds.
All right. You can tell the happy guy won. If you want to know who wins the fight, it's always the guy who has his flag on his shoulder. The other guy's not telling you where he's from. This shows off our mat signage. Let's see if I can get this going.
Outside of Alexander Volkov, yes, this is the next most experienced guy in the sport. It's a big challenge for your record, and its trajectory is going to be, as he believes it, and as a lot of people around him believe, it is to be a champion one day. He needs to pass these kind of tests.
As you can see, I mean, you just see that's our logo, that's our website, minutes and minutes at a time. And sometimes we are lucky enough, I'll show you here, we're lucky enough to where a fight ends. Yeah. That was on the same card in Washington, D.C. And you talk about victory for veterans. Look at that right there. She is she looks happy, and that's a lot happier than Alistair Overeem looks down there sitting down. We got to talk to Rosenstrunk about maybe he can knock out the guy right on our logo next time. But we tried. But we found out during the pandemic, as places have started opening up, as we started kind of doing or attempting at least to get back to some kind of normalcy. That we have local chapters who are going out and having events. A lot of places show these fights for free, so they've been hosting watch parties. They've been coordinating with locations like BW3s and that sort of thing. Very open to having DAV come in, kind of almost a little bit echoing our Military Appreciation Night style. Passing out information about DAV while we're there, while we're essentially have so much presence during the fight. And again, you will find a very veteran-heavy audience there, and it's fun. I mean, who doesn't want to go out to BW3s on a Saturday night? Speaking of the UFC, most of you know the name, or some of you at least know the name Joe Rogan through our outreach on Spotify this fall. We will have live reads on his podcast. That is an incredibly popular podcast. That's hundreds of millions of downloads a month for it, and I don't know what his live audience is on Spotify, but we're very pleased to have that on there. He'll be doing live reads. I don't know if for those of you who have listened to his podcast, it's the most popular podcast in the history of podcasts. He does these kind of ad reads at the very beginning, and he's always kind of creative and funny with them. So we are going to see if DAV is paired with Bigfoot or aliens, or I'm not sure, but we're hoping that bounces our way. But he is a veterans advocate. He's proven himself to be a supporter of veterans, and we are very, very close. And I feel confident enough to say it here, even though we haven't inked it yet, to securing a space for a DAV-affiliated guest on his show this fall. So you look for that. We'll definitely be sharing that information as soon as it's available. We also try to get in touch with our softer side. We have Lifetime. We'll be doing some outreach on Lifetime. You'll see some of the digital spots that we'll be running with their holiday themed. programming this fall and winter. It looks like a welcome home Christmas. You got some stuff with Reba McEntire there, who has been a supporter of DAV in the past, so we're excited about that again. And you can see some of the outreach, some of the social media integration that's going to go along with that as well. The holidays and the year end, of course, are incredibly important for our organization. Most of you know, from a fundraising standpoint. So that really puts us out in front of a different demographic at an incredibly important time. And lastly, we have some work with USA Today, and this is ongoing. There'll be an editorial sponsorship. It's like a feel-good video they're going to be doing about DAV on their military kind section. There could be social promotion. Again, these high-impact units where they large videos that will overtake your website. I know some of us can get annoyed by that stuff, but a lot of times, if something's really interesting, I'll sit there and watch it, even if I don't know what it is. If it's good quality content, if it's Adam Greathouse, if Naomi Mathis, if Greg Gatson, I'll watch it. So we're excited about that, and it works really well for us. And here's just a couple of some of our program promotion. We are doing radio media tours. We had Jeff Hall. This is this past April, talking about employment services. And you see we have one coming up. Oh, we just did it actually in July 23rd, right before convention. Shane Learman did a radio media tour on burn pits. Did a fantastic job. And then for those of you who was here for the Day of Inspiration, you guys make it great. Thank you. Did you guys enjoy it? Yeah, good. Yeah. So that's we had a Military Times came on board pro bono. As a pro bono partner, they promoted the event. They drove a lot of their traffic to the live streaming version of it, and they were a great media partner for us during that event as well. So those of you, most of you in this room probably don't realize this because we have just released it, even though we've been working on this. It was slightly delayed by the pandemic for the past 2.5 years. We have a new tagline. Fulfilling our promises to the men and women who served is now keeping our promise to America's veterans. So those of you who just memorized the first one, now you got a new one. Sorry about that, but we are really excited about that for a lot of reasons. It was through extensive testing and quantitative analytics, and that includes both written and verbal. So we're talking to people on the phone, and we're sending them email, essentially, right? And getting that feedback from them. So they heard and saw the logo with different taglines, different versions of that tagline. This new tagline is shorter, it's more direct, and it echoes our name, right? America's Veterans. We have it right in there, which I think is fantastic. But the research was done with prospective supporters, veterans, and service members. We had VSO donors, folks who have donated to other VSOs, and DAV members and volunteers as well. So that new logo, we started using it in 2020 in select places. We used it in the UFC, for example, because we had to establish usage, which is some trademark legalese type stuff, but we own it, it's ours now, and we've established use, and we sent out, Mark Burgess sent out a memo earlier this week to chapter and department leaders, letting them know. So if you go out and look in the members only section, you'll see the new version of the logo with the tagline, and we can answer any questions about that during the Q&A period. Don't get rid of your old shirts, though. That's one thing. Dan Clare, he mentioned that to me. Make sure to tell people just don't get rid of your old stuff. It's I don't know. It's nothing wrong with it at all. It's a fantastic tagline. It's served us very well. It has got us to where we are. But this new tagline, we really feel strongly about it. That's going to do well for us too. 2021. This is some of the initiatives that we have working on from our staff, our team, for the remainder of the year. We've reached the 20-year anniversary of 9/11 this year. I get a little lump in my throat when I think about it. I can't believe it's been 2 decades, number one, and it still is enough to put a lump in my throat. A lot has happened since then, and we're going to be honoring that anniversary through DAV. Mary, do you have something to say about that? Thank you. She's been spearheading our outreach efforts around 9/11. Yeah.
So we've been telling some stories from members, service officers, thank you to everyone who have submitted a story. And on the week starting September 6th, we're going to be doing a big push on social media, recognizing and honoring such a tragic anniversary, really. And it'll culminate at the end. We have a video in the works that will be kind of a history of DAV and how DAV was there on ground zero on that day, and how the organization itself really pivoted to take care of veterans young and old, and just kind of like with the COVID pandemic, how we were able to kind of adapt and overcome some of the challenges that popped up right away that nobody expected. And we will have plans, so I hope that if you're on your social channels, you can take that, and also on our website as well.
Yeah, pretty good. Yeah, thank you, Mary. Appreciate that. And along with that, a couple of years ago, probably 5 years ago, maybe now, math is terrible, but we started doing a live day stories centered around some certain veterans who have become member leaders in our organization, telling their live day stories during Vietnam, right? The anniversary 50 years later. Well, now we have the 20-year anniversary of a lot of veterans who served in Iraq, Afghanistan, and other places during the global war on terror, including, our outstanding disabled veteran of the year, Mike McKee, who was injured in 2001 in Afghanistan. I mean, shortly after 9/11 was injured that quickly. So his live day is this year, and I'm certain that's a story that we'll tell. So we'll be telling, kind of moving forward, if you have members of your chapters, veterans in your community who you think might make a good profile, please reach out to us and let us know. We'd love to hear about it. We love telling generational stories. Mike Herter, you still in here? You came up earlier. It's Mike, there he is, right up front. Look at that. I didn't even plan that. We ran a story recently within the last year or 2 years, a generational story about some work Mike is doing with a younger disabled veteran in his community. Those kind of stories are incredibly important. It shows two things. It shows that we've been around for a long time, and that we're not going anywhere, right? That if you've been around for 100 years, chances are you're going to be around for another 100 years. That's a good thing. But it also shows that we are embracing and incorporating new, right? We are bringing in new men, new women, new veterans to kind of refresh our ranks, and we're still relevant. It's incredibly important, and so those kind of stories are important, and we're going to be telling a lot of those mentorship stories this year, generational stories. Stories that are local and regional. It's really important to us. DAV had a record year in terms of disaster relief, unfortunately, in 2020. And that's even without the work that we did for COVID-19 unemployment relief. But disaster relief in California looks different than disaster relief in Puerto Rico and places where there are floods, and there's tornadoes here and floods there. So it's really important that we're telling a variety of those stories and finding ways to share them regionally, right? To tell those stories to people where it matters. Gratitude. If I put that on there, and I always think if you have the opportunity to say thank you in any way to your supporters in your community, civic groups, government, companies, etc., never pass on that chance, never pass on that opportunity. If there's a way for us to echo it from the national level, we will try, especially on social media. We love if you have a local organization who's helped you out and you guys provide some sort of social shout out, especially if it has some artwork that goes with it. We will do everything we can to echo that for you. And I think that really helps build and strengthen relationships. And lastly, I say it's only owed to you, and that I just mean, a lot of folks don't understand all of our different core services, and sometimes we think, of course, everybody knows about that we provide, benefits, services free to all veterans and their families of all generations. Not everybody knows that, right? It's important that we're continually sharing just even the basics about our core services. You can copy and paste the the URLs on our different service pages, on our volunteerism pages, and are just continually sharing them. I think that we get kind of trapped in that newness bias, so we're always looking for the next exciting thing. Maybe if you're seeing it pop up on the national Facebook page, for instance, and you're wanting to share that, but really there's just so much there all the time, and you really could build up a very strong cadence of social sharing. And before I get to our last couple of slides, is Andy Marshall, are you in the room, Senior Vice Commander? Is he in? All right, everybody, can I, everybody sing along with me really quickly? Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Andy. Happy birthday to you. I hope it's really your birthday and Dan Clare didn't just play a monumental joke on me, right? That would really be it. The magazine, right? We have a fantastic magazine. We take a ton of pride in it. A lot of the success, and I hope that you do as well, the stories that you see, the artwork, the themes that we try to address. We don't steer away from anything. If it's out there, if it's going on in the veterans community, we are going to face it. There's a lot of, again, this staff, a lot of the folks here on this stage right now, and some who aren't here with us, do an excellent job. We appreciate when you share your ideas. Please keep doing that. We love when you submit photos to us. I know that we've disappointed probably, if you've submitted a photo, or multiple photos, we've probably disappointed many of you by not having the space or the size requirements to run them. We have limited space. We have an incredibly broad mission. I mean, if you sat through, if you were here for the joint opening session and you saw Mark Burgess's presentation, you know that we have an incredibly broad mission. We have a lot of stuff to cover every year, and the magazine is a very limited space to do it. But please keep sending those pieces to us. Please keep sharing your ideas. It's really important, even if they don't find the traction that you're hoping for. We need them. They're important to us. They inspire us in different ways, and we love to get it. But the other day I was actually talking to our deputy, Ashley Burns. Yeah, we were just talking the other day, weren't we? This is a real story. And I asked her, so these magazine covers represent every magazine cover since I was appointed as the National Communications Director. This is every one of them, right? Oh, look at that. There's a clap for that. Thank you, Mary. Her performance evaluation must be coming up. I don't know why I got a clap there, but thanks. And these are great stories. I mean, great artwork, number one, and again, really incredibly important things. We have everything from methylquin poisoning to there's Adam Greathouse surfing again, and our ODVY, drug-assisted psychotherapy. These are, again, we're not steering away from any topics. But I noticed something missing, and I don't know if anybody else, when you see this, what you notice. But I miss. There's no women in any of this, and I'll go back. We don't have a woman on the cover of DAV magazine since I, became the person most responsible for determining what goes on that cover. Yeah, there's always tomorrow, right? Thank you. And you're right. They're exactly right. There is always tomorrow, and I'm here to tell you now that it's incredibly important for us to highlight diversity. Military service, I think for a lot of us, it was a great integrator. I had the opportunity to sit down and share some time with Aubrey McDade and Sal Junta, both of them, before the Day of Inspiration. And Aubrey McDade, who grew up in Houston, just outside of Houston, I believe, he had told us that he had never met a Caucasian person until he went to transferred high schools sometime, in his teens, and never interacted with any white folk until he got into the military. Sal Junta, sitting across the table, who didn't know that about him, said, I'm from Iowa, kind of had the same experience. And I'm sitting on the other side. I'm from a little farm town north of Cincinnati, about an hour north of Cincinnati. And again, a similar experience. It is that integration experience that was incredibly important for me. It was important for them. And I think that it's important for us to be highlighting and sharing what a diverse organization we are. I'm looking out, I'm seeing all kinds of people in this audience right now. We need to do a better job of being, sharing more diversity. And a person who has inspired me to get my act together, if you will, both with regards to highlighting women veterans and showing more diversity is Cece Mazik. And I think Cece's here. Are you here, Cece? There she is. I owe a lot to her. She has been a source of inspiration to me, as she has been to a lot of you who've heard her story. But she's also been someone who's had some very frank discussions with me, never pulls any punches, and that's important. And so I'm here today in front of all of you. I'm pledging to do better, and I hope that we all can do that. So I hope we're all going to be telling these stories that highlight our diversity. I believe that all of us are better than any of us. And I hope, again, next time when I'm standing up here next year, 2022, different place down in Orlando, but in front of you again, we'll have corrected some of that there, some of those issues. So that is all I have today. So I thank you for your time. I left 10 minutes for Q&A. I know we usually have a lot of questions. Please, if you have any, let me know.